Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Good, great. Go. We've got a few minutes together here, and I want to make sure that we hit the ground running. Now, we've heard a lot about the term regenerative travel. Boy, is that a mouthful. What is it exactly, and how is it different from sustainable travel?
We like to say, in the most simplistic terms, being green is doing less damage. Sustainability is about reaching net neutral, but regeneration is actually making something better. And we really want to change the way people travel. Travel used to be a cultural exchange where you discover a new place and interact with people sharing cultures. We feel that, unfortunately, a lot of travel industry has become really disconnected with people in place. Regenerative travel for us is building the framework for travel that brings back that core experience of a non-extractive, inclusive, diverse, and equitable travel experience. So we're really starting at the property level to bring back that added value for hoteliers to help them create this experience for travelers again.
And in many cases, this trend has been happening already. And we've said that there has been a shift towards a slower, more considered form of travel. And there's a rally call for the travel industry to really rethink its environmental impact. And now with COVID, that has accelerated it even more. So how do we know for sure that regenerative travel is here to stay?
Well, we really believe that it's really difficult to find these types of hotels and properties and destinations that are actually promoting this type of initiative, what we call regenerative travel. So that's where we really saw the market opportunity to come in and create this platform and hotel collection called Regenerative Resorts that really make it easier for consumers to find this type of travel experience. We really believe that sustainable travel was just the first step. Regeneration is actually a paradigm shift. It requires a change in how we think. It's all based on the language we use and the meaning of the language to understand that meaning. So if regenerative travel becomes a buzzword, which we're definitely hearing a lot of industry talk around, it's our fault for not educating the traveler in the industry on how to actually create this shift. And we as myself as a branding expert and also a publisher and an editor, we're storytellers at our core. We teach and learn by telling stories, and that's really our responsibility as a company, but also the travel industry has to educate the traveler on how to travel in this way.
So you briefly talked about this new platform you've created. Can you tell me more about it and what exactly is your vision for it as a business going forward?
As I briefly mentioned, we realized that there was no one that was really fully addressing the needs of what we call the conscious consumer traveler who wanted to visit places. Our tagline is where your vacation meets your values. Brands like Patagonia, Tesla, Whole Foods, they're meeting the needs of the consumers of clothing, transportation, but we didn't see this opportunity in the market for actually creating a travel company that really caters to this conscious consumer traveler. Before I started Regenerative Travel, I was an editor and a journalist, and I became searching for stories that were very specific to using tourism as a vehicle for change. That led me to produce a short documentary in Africa on anti-poaching and traveling to the polar regions to do a documentary on climate change. And that's where I actually ended up meeting my co-founder, David Leventhal, who is owner of a boutique hotel in Mexico called Playa Viva. And we were talking about the challenges that a lot of his clients faced. He was, we really shared the sentiment on, there really was not a collection that really catered to exactly what his clients were looking for. That's where we decided to come together and start this company called Regenerative Travel. And under Regenerative Resorts, we have a hotel collection that really focuses on luxury, boutique, independent hotels that are dedicated to the highest levels of environmental impact.
So how far back was this? When did you guys start this?
We met in 2015, but we didn't start the company until January in 2019. So it's been incubating for a while.
Right. And so talk to me about some of these resorts that you have on your platform. What are they doing right that is above and beyond what we're doing in terms of sustainability?
Well, I'd love to share, one of the founding hotels, Playa Viva, which is David's property, is really one of the best examples that I believe is, really championing what it really means to be a regenerative resort. I mean, they really started doing regenerative design from the onset. The hotel took into account history of place, really looked at its role as a steward of the land. It had 200 acres it sat on, beaches, the bird-filled estuary, the ancient ruins on the property. Regenerative thinking is really about looking at the whole history of the area and the land, going back to the elders and how that land has transformed over the last 100 years, and how the hotelier is a steward of that property. And as a result of regenerative design, the small town of Huluchuca, which is next to Playa Viva, became a gateway to the property, and the hotel developed an organic agriculture system. And then also it really became the village for the whole area that was kind of actually dying. The property was really reinvigorated the whole ecosystem, but not only just the people, the birds, the land. It really took into account the whole system. So that's really one of our really great examples of regenerative resorts is really coming from Playa Viva, and then that all kind of stem from there in terms of how we look for regenerative properties.
It's interesting you mentioned Playa Viva as an example, but for hotels that are already built, how can they turn regenerative? I mean, or is this concept only something that's ideal for, a hotel that's just kind of starting off the ground?
It helps if you start with regenerative design, but it's not necessary. The primary focus of any successful regenerative project really comes from the values of the owner. The management, the owner of the hotel really needs to be committed from the onset to promote a positive impact to the community and the ecosystem. They may not know the language of regeneration, but if the intentions are right, it will flow from that. I think we also really like to share one of our other founding hotels in the collection called Blue Apple Beach in Cartagena. It's owned and managed by Portia Hart. She had never heard of regeneration when she joined us, but she in everything she stands for, she really embodies the values of regeneration. So when she joined the team and joined our collection, she really took on everything that Regenerative Resort stands for, and has become, since, our standard bearer, leading the implementation of our data collection system. At first, she was terrified of actually collecting data. She's not, they're not perfect in terms of, producing solar energy, but she really understands that regeneration is aspirational. So once you commit, you're on a journey, and then you always are looking for new ways to improve your operations.
Would it be accurate to say in regenerative thinking, it almost feels as though the guest or the traveler is really, second or third in terms of importance? It really is about the sense of place and ensuring as much of, the integrity and the regeneration of that particular place. And it just so happens that you would have travelers who actually can get to experience that or partake in that mindset. Is that a fair assessment to say?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the most surprising thing we found about our clients and our travelers, that once they experience regenerative practices, they don't want to go back to how they were traveling before. But it's really the host, the hotel, that has the responsibility to share these values with their guests. And hotels have been operating sustainably for many years. And I think many hotels have understood early on that sustainable businesses deliver higher profits. Well, while it may take some investment to add LEDs or other sustainable infrastructure, the end result is lower operating costs. But moving from a sustainable to regenerative is a similar implementation if the motivation is to create a positive impact and legacy for the community. We're actually going to be releasing a white paper in early December that describes how you can apply regenerative principles to hospitality and hotel operations.
And that white paper is targeting whom exactly?
It's targeting hoteliers in the hospitality industry. So really, we're doing a deep dive fully into how you can implement regenerative practices through hotel operations, and how those principles how you can just start your journey as a hotelier, or if you're looking to shift from sustainable to regenerative.
So I just want to go back a bit to something that you've said, and we talked about the traveler, the regenerative traveler. Describe for us exactly who this person is or this market segment is, and any kind of supporting statistics that you think that this is something the travel industry needs to look at very closely.
Well, we've definitely seen that our consumers have become increasingly aware of the impact of travel and the environment. We've seen studies come out in the recent years, in the 2019 report by CREST, the Center for Responsible Travel, how there's been an increasing awareness on travelers saying their choices really want to make a positive impact. Booking.com's 2019 Sustainable Travel Report said that 72% of travelers are looking to make more meaningful choices as well related to travel. But we're definitely seeing that I think a lot of travelers don't know exactly how to do this. It's really difficult, like I said in the beginning, where we saw our business opportunity to find these types of travel experiences. But to go back, more broadly as, who our type of client is, we call them the conscious consumer traveler. They are, what we refer to as LOHAS, lifestyles of health and sustainability. They really make very informed decisions based on, what we call label readers. So they read, you go into Whole Foods, you're reading everything on the label. Is it organic? Or, where is this sourced from? So LOHAS consumers are really looking to make decisions based on their values, whether it's environmental decisions or social justice. What they really care about is making sure that everything that they do is, really kind of adheres to their ethos and their own values. So that's who we really appeal to. I think, the shift in the world right now, especially with the pandemic, COVID-19 is just a rehearsal for climate change. I think we all need to be increasingly aware of how we can make a positive impact on the world, and that can definitely be done through travel. I think just a lot of travelers need to be educated on how that can be possible, because it is difficult to sort through all the different hotels, tour operators. OTAs don't necessarily make it very easy for the normal traveler to find out. You have to do quite a bit of research. So we really hope to make it much easier for the traveler to make these types of decisions.
Great. So I wanted to end our session on the topic of wellness. In many respects, regenerative travel relates to wellness. But how are wellness resorts and destinations getting it right or wrong when it comes to promoting this concept?
It's a great question, Cathy. Wellness and well-being is definitely a part of regeneration. I think from its core, we need healthy soils, healthy water, healthy food to be healthy human beings. This is just one example of how I think it's fully integrated from a value standpoint. But I think more wellness destinations are really integrating more farm to table programs. This just as an example connects them to the farmers, connects the traveler back to the food ecosystem, so the traveler actually has a fuller understanding of where their connection to nature comes from. I think too often wellness resorts maybe just have a prescriptive program that is not really connecting the client or traveler back to the earth, and that's what we really hope to see on how you can ignite a transformative shift within the traveler and having that integrated into a wellness program.
And so how would you embed more of regeneration thinking into the actual wellness experience?
I think the hotel really needs to think about, especially where they're located in the place, how you can bring back that local culture and experience back into that property and in the programming. It's not just you're going to be doing yoga and meditation over here that's siloed and you're not interacting with the culture, with the locals. I think for us, being a traveler is really so much about really immersing yourself in time and place. And I think that in itself, especially with COVID, I think so much of us have not been able to travel for very long. And I think really wellness for us is really about connecting back to the earth and understanding the history, the teachings that you can get from the land. And I think that is so much about, really being able to absorb that and learn. So I think that's definitely what we hope to see from more wellness experiences.
And one last question before we end. How has COVID changed the way you travel?
Well, it's funny. I haven't traveled in over 7 months, which is probably the longest time I haven't been on a plane or been anywhere. So I think, it's impacted the lives of so many around the world. It's changed our daily lifestyles. It's really forced us to reanalyze what is essential and important to us. I think people really crave deeper connections and meaningful experiences. I think when I do decide to get on a plane again, I really will be so much more aware of where I'm going and how my travel will be really impacting the destination that I go to. I think a lot of people are being more aware of, kind of carbon offsetting initiatives and really trying to mitigate and really kind of counteract their impact, especially when you do go on a flight again. So I think it'll definitely be interesting when I do decide to take a flight. I think it definitely will be an experience. I feel like I might cry once I do get on a plane, but I think, it really will really force us all, especially me, to be more intent driven and mindful and respectful of the places that I'm going to when I do decide to travel again.
Amanda, unfortunately, our time is up. Thank you for your time and stay well.
Thank you so much, Cathy, for having me.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.